Welcome to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, presented by Indy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Looks over the middle, second guesses, fires, throws. Does he make the catch in the end zone? Yes! Touchdown! Oladipo to win it.
Another one!
He got
Another
it!
one! Another one! Huge hole! He's at the 30! He's gonna go! 10, 5, touchdown! Jonathan Taylor!
Worked out by Burke. Bounces into Cody, puts it up, scores!
Now, from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, here's your host, Jim Coyle.
Happy Wednesday. That's right. We made it to the halfway point. It's hump day. Hello, everybody. Welcome in. Hope you're having a great week. And it's off to a good start for you. Big show today. Full lineup. Let's see. Kyle Neddenriep will be joining us. Bob Kravitz will join us. Jeremy Gray from Indiana. We're going to talk about name, image, likeness because there's so many questions. And Jeremy's got all the answers. I'm just kidding. I'm putting all that pressure on Jeremy, but he's as close to anyone as we're going to get right now to getting any just normal answers, nothing big. But it's just so this is being the name, image, likeness is being put on the schools if you're in Indiana. But Indiana's a school that was ahead of the curve. They were ready. The deal they had with open doors and all that. So they're ready for that. And I think that's going to serve them well. Recruiting has not slowed down any, as you can see on either side. Another offer yesterday on the basketball side, a 2023 point guard from Ohio. So plenty of activity still going. An announcement today, Omar Cooper is going to announce his decision, wide receiver. It's sure you would think possibly could go Indiana's way. A lot of things in their favor. It's down to two, Indiana and West Virginia. He's committing today, like I said. The official visit to West Virginia was the first one Cooper took in this process. He made that trip to Morgantown on June 11th. The 6'1" wide receiver from Lawrence North, of course, his quarterback is in camp. I believe that's who showed him around. So he just liked his visit to West Virginia a lot, but of course, we'll see. Indiana's kept the familiarity high for Cooper, like I said, his official visit. His former quarterback at Lawrence North, Donovan McCulley, was his player host. So that was kind of not a bad deal by Tom Allen. Smart to do. But plenty to talk about today, man. The NBA Finals are underway. Game 1 last night. Coaching changes abound in Indiana. Mr. Gardner, North Central, losing their coach again. I'll talk about that with Kyle Neddenriep. Let's see. Good morning from Dwayne down in Evansville area. New IU offer. Gabe Cupps is the kid I was talking about. Not finding much on him. Well, he is go to the Hoosier.com. Alec Lasley's got that followed. But yeah, he's a name that Alec mentioned earlier this year, but it's one that's off the radar, but that's great. That tells you that the staff is digging. They're out looking. They're trying to find the best players, not the names. And it is, I like it when you see those surprising names, especially from a staff like this they know all the big timers and they've been offered, but it gave Cupps a little bit of a surprise to some people, I guess. Not really. Like I said, this is something that had been mentioned by Alec Lasley on the Hoosier.com. So I would go there, and there's also a video of him against Bronny, playing against Bronny. So he's playing at a higher level than people would think just because you haven't heard of him. So plenty to get to on that. Omar Cooper, that big announcement coming today. I'm a little surprised, but West Virginia must have really done a good job on their visit. He said he had a really a good visit there. He liked it a lot. RBO Sprint hitting us up on the Andy Moore Honda hotline says, I see Rutgers has an injured wide receiver after getting in a fight, hospitalized with a skull fracture. Wow. Yee. Didn't see that yet. Ed Briggs says, hello, guys. How are you? Tim asking, will Calbert Chaney join the Pacers? A natural route for me, I would think, for him, having coached in the G League, I would think that he's already with the Pacers. He's been with the Pacers for quite some time. I'm not sure what you mean there, Tim, but getting back to the hot board. Yeah. Lots of offers, and recruiting is going so crazy now because you almost, I don't want to say over recruit, but Indiana is recruiting 2 guys for each position. So that's basically how that comes down to. And you have to because of all the craziness with transfer portal. I don't even know how many hundreds of kids are in the portal right now. Also yesterday, the golf match. Anybody check that out? Bryson DeChambeau and Aaron Rodgers getting the win over. I haven't gotten to see it yet. I started to watch it last night and I fell asleep. But they beat Phil Mickelson and Tom Brady. Tom Brady's not having doesn't have a lot of luck in those things. Didn't he lose to Peyton Manning last year in that deal? But those are just fun deals. But I haven't gotten to see that yet. I was digging on the how about the hair with Aaron Rodgers? Man. Yeah, Pete points out Calbert Chaney's the assistant coach for player development at the Pacers. Yeah, 777-yard par 5 in this thing. Let's see. Pete says the match was a lot better than I expected. Crazy golf course. Yeah, I mean, they up in Montana, so you've got very dry air, no humidity in the air. That allows the ball to fly farther. I haven't seen it yet. I know they had that one long hole. I haven't seen the longest drive yet, so haven't gotten to see it. Best of the match, Rodgers telling Phil to shut up. Oh, let's see. I haven't read that, but it was just funny. Those things are just good times, man. I cannot wait to get to watch it. But for those of you that get to watch it, hope you got to enjoy it. But it sounds like fun. I'd like to play that course. That's for sure. Without question. But it wouldn't help my game. My game still stinks. What are you guys looking forward to today? Like I said, Omar Cooper making a decision on football. Basketball offers are flying out. We're less than 3 weeks away from Big Ten Media Days in football, which are July 22nd and 23rd. In Indianapolis this year. Looking forward to that. But once that hits, it's kind of things start to pick up speed after that. Training camp will open up soon after that. And then you're going to have Indiana basketball with the Bahamas coming up in 1 month from now. I mean, that is a month away. Basketball playing. So we're close to everything just being going. And it's hard to imagine that it's here that quickly, but it is. It sure is. Who's your fan for life says it does seem like offers are being sent out at a very high rate, even more than Crean. Is there such a thing as over recruiting? Well, like I said, this staff is definitively recruiting 2 guys for each position right now, which you have to. I think that it seems like more offers because they're recruiting for each position. And if you just did the starting positions, that's 5, 10, 5, and you double that to 10. it also lets guys know that, hey, man, you're going to have to produce. This is being run, I don't want to say like a professional operation, but the pressure is going to be there. The pressure to produce, the pressure to maintain your starting position, whatever that is, nothing is given anymore. And I think that is the message that is being sent. Nothing is given. Everything is earned. It's how it should be. I think that also with the recruiting, there's so much movement right now that you almost have to. I don't want to use the word over recruit, because they're not over recruiting. They know what they're doing, but you have to be aggressive, very aggressive. In that regard. Ed Briggs asks, what about Dickinson State? Yep, that's another great point. Michigan, they got a little stronger yesterday. As Hunter Dickinson announced, I saw that. Wave the flag. Hunter Dickinson announced that he is staying in school at Michigan, coming back. That is going to make Michigan the team to beat without question, which was nothing that I didn't already think. We expected them to be the team, the class of the Big Ten next year, as they were last year. They're going to be pretty strong. So, but that gives them, that dude he's a solid player. He's going to give them something really solid to build off of. Glenn said exactly right. With privilege comes responsibility. That's right. I mean, players are going to be getting more. They're going to be getting all the name, image, likeness stuff. They're going to be getting all the things they want. Well, you also have to perform now. There's going to be more put upon you. Tim asked, have you heard about this big Louisville tournament, boys and girls teams from 47 states and 107 teams to play over the next 3 weeks? I haven't looked in it yet, but those are very familiar that happened. Charlie Hughes had 108 teams in it, and that was just from Indiana. Let's see. Women playing at Donald Ross courts. Oh, yeah, the Symetra Tour. Is that this weekend? Yeah, the Symetra Tour is akin to the Corn Ferry Tour, I guess you'd say, on the men's side, playing the Donald Ross course. They're going to have fun in those greens. Man, that would be great to watch, though. So there you go. Check that out. Go down to French Lick, and a good opportunity to go. I don't know. I don't think it's open to the public, unfortunately. So, but I'll have to check on that. Follow through that. We got to take a quick break. We'll be back with more right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Hey, Hoosier fans.
I mean, you got a busy Andy Moore hotline this morning.
Yeah, trying to keep up with it. Let's see. Kyle's up next, right?
Yes, Kyle's coming up.
Lots of going on in the coaching world, man.
Good news, I think the puppy calmed down a little bit. Haven't heard her whining in a while. So when are you going to take Kyle to? About 9:45?
Yeah, we'll see what we can get out of it.
That's fine.
How about my Reds?
Didn't they blow a lead last night, or did they end up?
Oh my God! See, I got to remember to talk about that stuff. That's okay. That's why I need you to start doing like a
headlines.
yes, because I see that and I forget it. Oh, I was livid, and the Brewers lost.
Gosh. Yeah, I was doing the
They're up
Bats game last
5-0.
night in iHeart, and our play-by-play guy was talking about the Reds and how well they've been doing and how they were winning 6-1, and then they ended up losing 7-6. I'm pretty sure it was the final score. So
I need to get a Reds hat, but I don't like I don't like red hats.
oh yeah.
They're just can't they get an alternate color, man, like a gray? What was I looking up? Oh,
All right. I'm sure Kyle will be on shortly. I'm going to go ahead and bring us back in.
Sam's Restaurants has multiple locations and something for everyone. Sam's Restaurant in Fishers has homemade coffee cakes and much more. Sam's Place in Broad Ripple has wings, tender steaks, and seafood. Sam's Ale House in Carmel and on 86th Street in Indy have a long list of craft beers and all of the right foods to go with. Plan a day on the links at Eagle Point in Bloomington, then stay for dinner at Sam's Clubhouse. Sam's Restaurants, professionals in the art of food and drink. This segment is brought to you by Sam's Family of Restaurants. Fresh, local, family. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Here's Jim Coyle.
welcome back on this hump day. Hope everyone is having a good day, good week. Waiting for Kyle Neddenriep to jump on here and join us. You know, I failed yesterday when Mike DeCourcy was on to talk about the Reds. My Reds have been rolling. I mean, they sweep the Cubs. I don't even talk about that. Oh man, how that got by. That I let that one get by. Mike's a big Reds fan as well. They're second in their division. But had a great opportunity last night to gain another game. They blow a 5-run lead in Kansas City. 5-0. They were up. Then it was 6-1, and they lose 7-6. And the Brewers lost. Oh, great opportunity because they're 6.5 games back. It was a great opportunity for the Reds to pick up ground. I know there's a lot of the Cardinals are right there. They're 2 games back of the Reds. So, little summer baseball. Brockway's not on. If he was, we'd be talking about his Mets. I cannot believe the Mets are in first place. You really say that? The Mets are in first place. How? Oh, man. Come on, Reds. That would be great to see that. They can get up there. I know a lot of division of Cardinals and Reds fans through here. But then you get Kyle Neddenriep on. He's a Detroit fan. Yes, nice to be in focus. Nice to be in focus. Thanks a lot for joining us, Brian. Van, I see a Reds hat. I think of his grandfather. He was a huge Reds fan and would wear that hat when he was yelling at me because he didn't like how he mowed the yard. He was 10, for crying out loud. That's what memories are made of, baby. Kyle Neddenriep joining us now. I just read that one. I should read that one again. Kyle, I was just talking about my Reds, man. I was like, I failed in the last 2 days to talk. Mike DeCourcy was on, and I'm like, man, they just swept the Cubs, and they're rolling, and they're up to second place. The Brewers get beat last night, and what the hell do? They blow a 5-run lead. 5-0 they're up against Kansas City, and they lose 7-6.
Ouch.
But, man, it's fun to talk about baseball like that again, though, because that means we've got that. That's the worst of our problems. We're talking about the Reds blowing a 5-run lead. I love it.
Yeah, you kind of appreciate the mundane. You're right. I mean, I've thought about that too, and it's a good thing to kind of get caught up in the the negatives that aren't really that important. Makes you kind of appreciate that. And I agree. I think that's a good place to be. I always thought if we get back to a place where we're worried about baseball games and some of that sort of thing, that's going to be a good place. I think we're getting back to that point.
How about, speaking of Kyle Schwarber, how about Schwarbs, man? He has just been swatting them out left. I'm like, why would you throw to him unless you absolutely have to throw to him? He is, and I'm wondering, because this is right on the heels of the sticky substance stuff. I mean, almost immediately after he goes on this tear. Not that he wasn't already hitting dingers, but maybe it's hurting the pitchers a little bit. They can't put the squeeze on people like that as much.
Yeah, it makes you wonder. I don't know. It's a sticky subject. Should I? But I know some of the hitters have even said, "Hey, I don't mind them using it so they can control the ball a little bit better." And I know, even like the little kids and stuff. They're not little kids, but my kids, 12 and 14, when they play, it's always better to have a ball that's all rubbed up and that's been used a little bit than a slick one. It's just that's why they do rub them up at the major league level, and so you can have a little control to it. I don't know. To me, the sticky it seems like it's a little far. I mean, those balls have been rubbed up, or they're supposed to have been anyway, and they have been for years. So, I don't see why all of a sudden we need this stuff, So I think the balls would stick to their fingers like this. It's that bad. I mean, they could hold on to the ball like that. So that's not necessary. It's just there. It's like I was looking for the glove. I've got one of those gloves a receiver uses. I found, and I put that on one day, and I'm like, you got to be kidding me. Mm-hmm. I'm like, there's no way. How could you ever not catch a pass with two of these things on? I mean, the ball hits that and it almost stops. I see why they can make one-handed grabs. If you've got a big enough hand, those gloves, it blows my mind. I'm like, man, if we'd have had these, you'd never dropped a pass ever. It's crazy, the technology today. Well, even when I played back in the 90s, played football, high school football, our receivers would wear those Newman, if you remember those Newman gloves that they had, football gloves. And I remember I would wear them. I never wore them for games. I played running back, so I didn't really need those. But I didn't like wearing them because they felt so sticky and it just didn't give you a good feel for the ball. I didn't think. I mean, maybe as a receiver, you'd feel different.
Those weren't. The ones today it's a different deal. But we still, I'm old enough. We still had Stickum. But it was at the very end. I think my junior year it was legal, but my senior year it was banned. And I remember having a couple rolls of tape on my upper calf and just having a wad of it down there and just reach down, man. And you could reach down and touch grass and just pull grass up off of the thing. So, but yeah, fun times. A lot of movement in high school basketball right now, Kyle. Jason Gardner, of course, the biggest name, leaving that position that he'd been in for a year to go to Arizona, which I guess if he's wanting to start a college career, that's a good place to go. New startup out there where he played, of course, but that's good. Be a big change in Indiana basketball next year.
Yeah, so Jason was only there. He's hired basically last year, about a year ago at this. I think it was in early August, so not even a year, and had been coming off the run that he had at IUPUI for 5 years, and then had the DUI situation, and then resigned a couple days later. Got the North Central job where he had been coaching or had played as a standout player, Mr. Basketball, and ended up only being there 1 year. Now part of the deal too, Leland Walker, who's their best player, is headed to prep school next year also. So, they would have been sort of in a rebuilding mode again. And, but the opportunity for him, and I did talk to him a little bit here in the last few days, the opportunity to go back to Arizona, new coaching staff there. His position will kind of be a support staff position to start out with. So, good opportunity for him to go back to his alma mater, kind of similar to coming back to North Central as his alma mater. But yeah, that North Central job now is open, and always a lot of talent in that system. Doug Mitchell left a few years ago, and this will be their third hire since he's left. So, and he was there for, I'd have to look exactly, I think it was 25 years. So, was very stable program for a long time, and now has kind of cycled through some coaches. So will be interesting to see who Andy Elkins ends up hiring there, and the school board there at North Central. There's also a couple other jobs open too that are pretty big as far as the high school level goes at Avon. Kind of a program that had been really good, had the chance to be pretty good under Jeff Holloway. They were sectional champion a couple of years ago, then dropped back down to 6 wins last year. But nonetheless, a 4A program that's got a lot of talent in the system. North Central, and then Decatur Central will be hiring next week, and Tri-West is also open now. So probably a little bit unusual to have this many openings in July 7th in high school basketball. But it does happen from time to time. And I just don't know what the pool of candidates will be. I think a lot of people are right now at this point are probably locked into their current situation. So it might be tough to get somebody to leave at this point.
Yeah. That's not a great time for an athletic director or anybody. You've got boards and all that stuff to deal with. As we move through the summer, things are opening back up for the kids. I don't think there's as many camps this year. Are there, Kyle, still as past? I know like IU's not having team camps, things like that. So it's not as many of those because there wasn't time to plan because you didn't know what was going to be what and when, I guess.
Yeah, I think this is kind of the end of that cycle, I guess you could say, as far as, having to plan for camps. Like you said, team camps. Purdue normally, they would be having team camps in June, and they didn't do that either this year. So, but I think this will be probably the end of that, and then you'll be completely back to normal next year. But at the very least, there was a June two evaluation periods. There's another one coming up here this weekend, the first of 3 in July for basketball prospects to play in. I know there's a big Adidas tournament down in Birmingham this weekend. There's also one locally, the Adidas Invitational, which is kind of you'd say a second tier down because you'll have all the big Adidas teams down there. But so you've got some stuff coming up that's is sort of back to where we were in 2019 as far as the calendar goes that we missed out on last year. But yeah, but those camps, I think the universities themselves, like IU and Purdue, you remember back to early June, even they didn't have the high school like the state track meet and softball had to move off those campuses, and they had them at the high school venues. So I think that was just more of a they had to make decisions back in April and May, and decided just to play it safe and not have those on campus. So I think that's the reason why we didn't see the team camps either. But I think this is probably the last of that situation.
I think not having team camps this year probably better off for Mike Woodson, Indiana, and that staff. That does not keep them tethered to Bloomington, does not keep them tethered here. They can go out, see guys. They could go out and do what they needed to do. Of course, you do that at the right times where that's not a problem anyway. But being their first season, it seems like it gave them a little more room to maneuver, go out and see guys and get the lay of the land. So that was probably, and I know getting those teams on campus is great, but it allowed them to go see the exact guys that they wanted to see and not entire teams this year. So I think that's probably an advantage for this new staff at Indiana this season, not having the team camps.
Yeah, I mean, it could relieve some headaches as far as, getting things organized and that sort of thing. But, it does give them a chance. If you've got I always thought, it worked. I've covered a couple of the Purdue team camps in the past, and, it's pretty obvious, they get a chance to get those guys on campus from the teams that they're recruiting, and it's sort of a recruiting pitch basically. And to kind of get them to see the facilities and get them feeling comfortable to be on campus, for possibly the first time, or, so it gets you a little extra time that you wouldn't get otherwise, I would say, and kind of opens the door to show your program. So I think I think it's and you get to see them play, that's another thing, get to see them play in a high school environment. So I think it's mostly positives, but yeah, for a first year staff, it probably frees you up, probably allows you to, to do some other things that are probably a higher priority at this point for you. And then, you can kind of get set next year and see what teams you want to bring in for team camp, which prospects you want to have on campus, and which of those teams you can get there. So it's probably logistically definitely helps for this year.
What do you, as we've loosened up, things have loosened up, what are you looking forward to getting to do that you did not get to do last summer?
Boy, that's a good question. I'm all vaxxed and I'm ready to not wear a mask anymore. So, and it's pretty rare. We did fly out to we were in Washington State about the last week or so, and that was my first time being on an airplane since all this happened for a couple of years at least, probably. So it is different. You go. I'm kind of used to not having one on now. Just because I have been vaccinated, and most places are allowing you to kind of move freely again. But being in the airport, you have to wear one. You have to wear one on the plane, and basically that was it. I think in the what do you call it, the transport vehicle that takes you to your rental car and stuff like that. But for the most part, you're kind of back out, being free and normal again. So that's the thing. I mean, that mask is, I definitely wore it and made sure to wear it where appropriate. And honestly, it kept me from getting sick, over the course of the basketball. So normally I get sick a couple times, just with colds and stuff like that. And that was kind of nice. And it's kind of warm, when you're walking to your car on a 10-degree Saturday night or whatever. But that's seeing people's faces again, seeing reactions from people, even in interviews and stuff like that. And there, it wasn't like the kids were always masked up, but it's hard to react to people when you're always wearing a mask, and it just kind of, it's just kind of weird, and never did get used to that exactly. But that's probably the biggest thing to me, is just having that freedom not to wear one anymore. But as far as covering stuff and professionally, I always felt like, even last year, and credit to the schools, for doing a great job for the most part. But, I felt like it was kind of a relatively in a very weird and unusual year, like we'll probably hopefully never see again. I felt like I was able to do my job probably more normal than anybody, as our staff goes. Just because we were having, Friday night football, we had a basketball season. Now you're covering things that are a little, football season, I'm constantly covering like who's playing, you got new matchups coming, you got, things were just kind of on the fly, and that kind of wears you out. I was definitely worn out last year from just a lot of things, but now I feel refreshed and ready to kind of have a normal season, just find good stories. And that's, we were doing that last year anyway, but it's good to get back in a routine, I think. And, I think that's what I'm looking forward to the most, just getting back into kind of a normal routine that we are used to having.
Yeah. And recruiting, we've all been worried about how's recruiting going to go because of all the changes with the portal and name, image, likeness. And we don't know is the answer to that. But I think that it's going to settle down. I think that a lot of schools are going to remain kind of the way they are once it settles down with pretty normal recruiting, because you look at a school like Indiana, they got a lot of offers out there. So they're not planning on living off of the transfer portal. We were talking about there's a lot of offers they have made to kids. So that concern about kids not getting offers, I don't see that materializing at the moment, at least not for an Indiana program. So it looks like still the best players, they're still going to get their offers. Sure, it's going to affect some kids, I'm sure, but I don't know. I don't know that it's going to, once it runs through the newness, I'm not sure what the impact is going to be, obviously, but I'm not sure it's going to hurt as much as we think it is.
Yeah, I still don't know what to think about the name, image, likeness, and how that affects everything. I still kind of learning about that, and I do wonder about just the money that changes hands and what that will do to the recruiting process. But I would say as far as the transfer stuff goes, I do agree. I think it'll probably find somewhere of a happy medium. I don't think we'll see. High school kids are still going to get recruited. And to me, the biggest thing you missed out on, or this year we missed out on, is the visits. And, kids not even knowing, I've covered a lot of kids who've committed, or at least not a lot, but some who have committed without even visiting the school they committed to, and you wonder what that does to down the road. How do you even know you're in the right place if you haven't even been there before, especially if you're going out of state somewhere, that's a little bit farther away. I would say that's a problem, and I think you always have to be somewhere to set foot someplace to feel like it's home. So to do that without even being there, I think that could lead to even more transfers. But I think the whole transfer thing will find it'll find a happy medium. I don't think we'll see just, drastic numbers. Kids will find out. I think that, sometimes leaving is not always the best, but you're still going to have, we've always had transfers, and I think it'll just have to find kind of find its level. And I think eventually it will, but, and I do agree. I think the high school kids are going to get recruited. The best kids are. I think what we'll probably see more of is kids committing possibly earlier. I've already covered a few kids who've committed earlier because they know the transfer portal's out there. They want to get their spot locked in and make sure that's scholarship still available to them. So I think that's something you could see, and we have already seen with the portal being the way it is. So I think that's one thing that could kind of stay, is that, and we do see kids commit early, regardless, but I think we could see more of that even in the future.
What's the next big event to look forward to locally, I guess, I would say? Basketball
as far as recruiting goes, or?
Yeah, either. Yeah.
The Adidas Invitationals this weekend. It's not, back in the days of Cody Zeller and Yogi Ferrell, that was like the big tournament locally. I remember one year there was, I think, pretty much every, Power 5 conference had a coach there, head coach there. But that's kind of the way the Adidas has changed things. Now they go to Birmingham. The big teams do for that first weekend, but there are some good teams playing, like Indy Heat actually is playing in this tournament this weekend because they don't have a EYBL tournament this weekend. So there are some good teams in it. I'm going to go out Friday, I believe, and watch some of it. And, so that's something. There's a couple other tournaments going on in July. I'm starting to get into some football stuff now, some preview stuff. I'm going out to a high school tonight to watch them work out and have practice. So, we're getting into that time of year where, I've already written a couple football things, have another one coming today, just kind of help people get ready for the upcoming season. So kind of in that time to get ready for our high school football preview, which is not all that far away.
Looking forward to that, man. It's just the only thing I hate about that is that it means summer's about over. And it was like, wait a minute, we just got here. So, but always looking forward to that. It always takes me back to being a kid when you were in high school. I mean, that was those few years are just, and I know it doesn't matter for some reason, other sports just don't have this same. I think it's the fall, it's the football preview that comes out, all that stuff that comes out. It's just it just makes it cool and special and fun, and you just don't forget it, and it hasn't. And I think that's one thing I hope never goes away. We've seen so much change in communication, newspapers, and all that. Man, that would just. I don't know that they would know what they were missing if that wasn't here, because it's just something that I can still look back at however long it's been and like think, how cool was that? How much anticipation there was with that.
Oh, definitely. I agree. Football is different because it's the start of a new school year, and it kind of signifies the start of something new. And you see it the first football games of the season. The excitement and the newness, and the kids who were juniors the year before are now the big men. The seniors, and they're the leaders. And so it's a turning of the page and something. The start of a new season, and football always signifies that for me. August and, getting into that time of year is always kind of you feel refreshed and ready. And then by the time it's November and you got football, basketball crossing over each other and you feel drained and you can barely get through the day, that's fun in its own right in some ways, because it's a very busy time of year, but yeah, it's always fun to start a new season, and there's always a whole new group of stories to write about and find out about, new group of kids, and that makes it exciting. And players like Omar Cooper, who's committing today, it will be fun to see what he does this year on the football field. So it's always fun to look forward to seeing a new group of players coming through.
Yeah, I forgot to mention. I mentioned that earlier. Omar Cooper. That's he coming down to Indiana and West Virginia, and a little closer than I think a lot of people think. He seemed to really like his visit to West Virginia, which that's usually the case with Indiana. You're usually hearing about how much they like their visit to Indiana, which I'm sure he did. But it's going to be interesting. His high school quarterback, is at Indiana. It was his guide to take him around on his visit. But it'll be interesting to see. A lot of guys want to make their own path. So it's going to be interesting to see where he goes. But that's a big-time commitment if Tom Allen can get that.
Yeah, I talked to Omar yesterday. He's, he definitely did like his West Virginia visit. Had a great experience there, and also IU's been on him for a while. He really likes Tom Allen. Like you mentioned, he's got not only Donovan McCulley, his quarterback, going to IU, but CJ Gunn, who Omar. People forget probably he's a basketball player too. He missed last year because he tore his ACL in the last football game of the season. He's about to be cleared. Probably he may miss the very start of the season based on how he's feeling. They want to make sure he's fully 100%. But CJ Gunn, going to IU too. He's very close to CJ. So not only Donovan but CJ's going there. So there's some really good obviously some good things about IU, and I think they've been in a good position with him for a while. But I think the West Virginia visit did from what he told me yesterday, really did go really well. Has a good, connection there with their coaches. Their offensive coordinator is also their receivers coach. So he has a good, has a good relationship with them. But, and he also had, I think, 16 other Division I offers, a lot of Big Tens, and Mizzou from the SEC, and I believe Arkansas. So had some good offers out there. Ended up coming down to IU in West Virginia, and he'll make that commitment here probably in about a couple hours. Yeah.
Well, looking forward to it, man. We'll be talking about it next week, but I hope you have a great rest of your week and a great weekend, Kyle.
All right. Thanks, Jim. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you, brother. Appreciate you joining us here on Indiana Sports Beat. Kyle Neddenriep from the Indy Star. If you're not a subscriber, you should be. Give him a follow as well. I am a subscriber there. Looking forward. We got to take a quick break. We'll come back, finish out this hour. We got Bob Kravitz yet today and Jeremy Gray. Back after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Whether you're looking for...
I have less energy when I have too much to think about, I think.
Also, I went back and looked at the texts, and I'm sure I know the answer to this, but I wanted to double check. We weren't supposed to have James Mons on today, were we? Yesterday when we were texting, you said you were trying to get James Mons for today, unless that's going to be a different day now, or maybe you couldn't get a hold of him.
I was trying.
Okay.
Just trying. Did not
That's
have.
that's somebody I forgot this morning. I forgot to ask you about. That's what I was curious.
I'm not trying. I'm not trying anymore. I've tried a couple times. I asked him, would it be a problem? He said, no problem. I'm like, okay, we'll win. And I'm like, screw that. No time for that.
Oh, well.
Okie dokie. Smoky. Pokey. Yeah, I fell asleep watching that stupid golf match.
Last night?
Yeah, that's all right. I got it recorded.
Excuse me.
If Cooper commits to Indiana, that would be the best storyline for Indiana as far as recruiting.
Deshaun McCullough, still probably the top one.
Yeah. And the transfers. I don't know that they top the transfers.
It's such a mystery because you don't know how they'll pan out or how much playing time they'll actually get.
Well, you don't know how anybody's going to pan out.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
But you've got a former 5-star transfer and guys that are coming in from all these big time places.
But isn't the reason he's essentially a transfer because he got hurt a lot at USC?
But it's a good question, and it's actually a yes. And I mean, there's definitely some yes to that because I've talked about getting the top recruits and landing them. You know, they
need to get Indiana.
You can't lose
that 5-star, but technically Indiana doesn't have that 5-star this year. They only have 4 stars as the best players. But anyway, we're coming back. So
lease for just $270 a month. Andy Moore Honda Bloomington, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer.
Come see us at the all-new Andy Moore Honda, now in Bloomington.
This segment is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Here's Jim Coyle.
How's everyone doing on this Wednesday? We have reached the halfway point of this week. Indiana has extended an offer to 2023 point guard Gabe Cupps yesterday. We'll have to go through that list on Friday with Alec Lasley because it is growing ever more lengthy to get a handle on it because it seems like there's a ton out there, but it's not as much as you think because there's going to be change. Changes, right? Always. Let's see. What was I going to talk about before Bob got on? Daggone it, John. I just had it in my head and now I've forgotten already. What were we talking about in the
we were talking about Omar Cooper and whether or not he could be the game-changing component of this class.
Yeah, that's right. Well, that was actually a question from Glenn.
Yeah, here, I'll pull it up. He said, if Cooper commits to Indiana, will that be the best storyline for Indiana as far as recruiting so far this season?
It's a good question, actually. At first I said no, but I'm like, well, it kind of creates a trilogy for Indiana of sorts with now that Kyle mentioned CJ Gunn on the basketball side. You've got Donovan McCulley, the quarterback from the same high school, so that sets, that does leave a mark at those schools. And those are some of the big Indianapolis schools that does leave a definite mark, especially if these guys go and have success.
And the fact that he's a skill player means he will be, if he ends up playing, he'll be scoring touchdowns. People will be seeing him. Scouts will see him. He'll be, who knows? But Deshaun McCullough, I would say, is probably the cream of the crop of the in-state recruits so far this year. But I mean, there's no way of knowing that until they actually see the field in college. So,
also, RBO Sprint points out today is the NBA draft deadline. Any other Big Ten players besides Baker from Rutgers still to decide? It's a good question. Who are the players left to decide in the draft? We saw that and mentioned earlier that Hunter Dickinson is coming back. Who is left in the Big Ten? That's a great question. I don't know that in the Big Ten that there's any. Yeah, you got it. I don't know that there's anyone else left that is not a decision maker, but a problem for other teams. Dickinson may have been the last one I can think of. But there's so many who I can't remember them all. But let's see. If IU gets Cooper, that'll be 12 of the last 24 recruits having a 5.7 rating or higher on Rivals. IU had 14 of 91 rated that high from 2017 to 2020. Wow. 50%. That is a great stat, Shimmatori 66. 50% of the last 24 recruits having a rating of 5.7 or higher on Rivals. Indiana previously 14 of 91. I'm not great with math, but what is that? 12%?
It's pretty low, whatever it is. And I believe the
roughly.
average, if you take all of the averages from all 14 Big Ten teams, they are fourth. I think they're behind Rutgers, believe it or not, Rutgers of all teams. Rutgers, Michigan, and Ohio State.
Rutgers has made a recruiting run with Greg Schiano, but I keep showing that stat. This is what matters. Recruiting.
Well, here's the thing. Maryland, too, we've talked about this before. Maryland has had plenty of recruiting successes, and yet they haven't seen any of the results on the field yet with Mike Loxley.
Kind of reminds
Granted,
me of
last
Kentucky.
year was weird with COVID.
I don't want to bring up Kentucky, but Kentucky, man, they were getting all those recruits and same deal. But, yeah, staying in the Big Ten. But Indiana's recruiting is just continuing to improve. You can see it statistically. You can see the team improve statistically. So it is a direct correlation without question. Better recruiting is leading to better recruiting. Better recruiting, winning is leading to better recruiting. It all leads to better and better, but you have to continue to do both. But they still need to climb higher in recruiting. I still want to see them get. You definitely can't lose an Omar Cooper.
No, definitely not. And if you're talking, I know you always talk about Indiana getting. I know you always talk about Indiana getting that first 5-star in football, and I think next year would be their best opportunity with Drake Bowen. I think right now he's the favorite for Notre Dame, or leaning toward Notre Dame. And I know that's a recruit for the following class, but if Indiana does well, you may see him sneak into the Hoosiers in some way as the season rolls on. So Drake Bowen, 5-star, that's the guy to look out for right now, I think.
And Indiana has – that's why I keep saying they have to win these stupid bowl games. I know it sounds like not that big of a deal, but Indiana was in no way going to be considered for had they beaten Ohio State, I don't know what it would have taken for Indiana to get into the playoffs last year. Even if they had beaten Ohio State.
Are you saying the only thing they would have had a chance still?
I didn't say they wouldn't have a chance. I'm just saying I don't know what it would have taken for them to get in.
Well, they absolutely would have had to beat Northwestern, first of all, in the Big Ten championship.
Well, of course, but I'm just saying it would have been impossible, I guess, to not put them in at that point, but it would have been – they would have done everything they could to not have a team like Indiana in there because the national media does not believe in Indiana. They don't believe in Indiana basketball. Look at the basketball.
People don't want to watch – like just Alabama fans wouldn't care if Indiana football was in the college football championship unless they were playing against Indiana. And it's like the NBA Finals right now. Who genuinely cares that it's the Bucks and the Suns right now, other than Bucks fans and Suns fans?
If you look at basketball, the national media on Indiana basketball is a very, very, very different take than than local media. National media sees Indiana as old, worn out, tired. They don't see Indiana as a blue blood. They don't see them as the Indiana that the fans see them as, and it's a different viewpoint.
I mean, you can say the same thing about Nebraska football or Tennessee football. They have that history. They have plenty of fan tradition. I mean, they fill up Neyland Stadium and Nebraska's Memorial Stadium every year, no matter how bad it is. It's just like Indiana basketball. Assembly Hall will fill up even in Tom Crean's first year when they only won 6 games. I mean, so whether there's – go ahead.
I was just say, Glenn, yes, I do not expect Coach Allen to be going anywhere. He's an Indiana guy. If you're competing for Big Ten titles, what else is there? I don't – if you build a program in the Big Ten and you're competing in the Big Ten East, I think that's where you'd want to stay.
And I don't see why he would want to go anywhere other than – why would he want to rebuild this exact same thing that he's doing right now anywhere else? Why would you put all of this hard work into being Indiana football, something that has never been anything? Why would you want to take that and go somewhere else do the exact same thing? I don't understand why anybody would want to do that, but who knows?
We got to take a quick break. The great Bob Kravitz joins us next. Back with more right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Hey, Hoosier fans. Hello, Robert.
Hello, James. How are you?
Very well, thank you.
Hey, just want to let you know, I'll be on vacation next week. I'll be out of town. So
can I go?
Jersey Shore, you want to go?
I've never been to Jersey.
Jersey Shore is beautiful.
I've never been to I've been Jersey as far as landing in the airport and crossing over, but I've never been to Jersey Shore. I've never been to Maine.
Beautiful.
Delaware.
You're a Midwestern boy.
Hey, I've been to North Dakota. That may be it.
Yeah. I've been pretty much everywhere now. You know where I've never been? Montana. I was watching that golf. I was watching that golf yesterday for a little while. Oh my God.
It is. You can't. When they call it Big Sky Country, it's you until you see it for yourself. You can't wrap that around. But it's just not. It's Wyoming. All of it out there. It's incredible.
Oh, I know. I spent 10 years in Colorado. I know.
Oh, and the biggest thing I kicked myself in the ass when my last TV job was in Washington State on the east side, and I drove from Wisconsin, where I had a TV job, out to Washington. So I'd planned it. I'd stopped and I saw Mount Rushmore. I stopped in Montana, but I did not go to Yellowstone Park. And that was the biggest mistake of my life, is not stopping when I went through then. I should have done it then, and I didn't do it.
Well, my daughter is moving to Tacoma, Seattle area next week, actually, after we get back from vacation. So we're going to visit her, get a rental car, and just drive the west.
SeaTac, baby. It's only about 3.5 hours down to Portland.
Yeah. Well, Portland's not a place you want to be right now, but.
I saw the old Fred Meyer Challenge there back in the day.
Oh, that's a long time ago.
Bob Knight was in it.
Oh, my God.
I have a picture with me and Bob Knight, me and Fuzzy Zeller. I have one with me and John Daly. Payne Stewart was there playing keyboard. This was after we were at the after party at the hotel. He was playing keyboards.
Oh, that's cool.
It was amazing. I think Daly had just won.
Back in.
Dale House in Carmel and on 86th Street in Indy have a long list of craft beers and all of the right foods to go with. Plan a day on the links at Eagle Point in Bloomington, then stay for dinner at Sam's Clubhouse. Sam's Restaurants, professionals in the art of food and drink. This segment is brought to you by Sam's Family of Restaurants. Fresh, local, family. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Here's Jim Coyle.
Welcome back on this Wednesday. It is the halfway point, and we've got Bob Kravitz to get us through. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well, man. How are you?
Cannot complain. My golf game is about as bad as it always is, so I don't complain anymore.
So you know what I shot last week? An 83 and a 96. Go figure that one out.
Well, I can see the disparity easily if it's me playing.
Well,
I can gain 9 strokes like that.
Oh yeah. I mean,
but
we're talking 30 damn strokes.
Where did you play?
Prairie View. I just went from hitting the ball beautifully to not having any clue what I was doing. It's called.
Now that's a little frustrating when you're on the same track and you're like, damn it, wait a minute. I what am I doing here? But yeah, it's easy. And I know people that if they don't play, they don't understand. That's the challenge. It's the mental. You have to stay focused on every swing, on every shot, on every hole. And it's almost impossible to do that. So it's nearly impossible.
So you're saying that beer does not help?
Well, not for me. Maybe others. It wouldn't help my ADHD brain. I would need something else to keep me focused. But
okay,
yeah, but I'm ready to get out there. But we don't stop.
I'm good.
Well, a lot of people are. Most people are. But I'm ready. The Symmetric Tour is going on right now at the Donald Ross course down in French Lick. That's the ladies. I guess that's the Corn Ferry edition for the women.
Yes.
I wonder if we'll have a fist fight at this one.
Oh, I hope so.
That would be the greatest of all time. I've not heard any more about that. They have kept that under wraps, man. Fight that happened.
You're right.
I mean, no video. Oh yeah, no video. You've heard it came and went, and it would have been the greatest thing. I mean, we're talking WWE on the golf tour and nothing.
Hey, I got to show you something.
Is that it? There it is.
Hold on one, baby.
That's a good looking one too.
Yeah, it cost me $50.
Probably cost you more than that. Them drinks.
Oh, and the drinks cost me about 140.
Yeah.
So it was a pricey hole-in-one, but it was worth it.
They charge you for the flag?
They did.
That cracks me up. You would think that there's one thing you get, but getting a hole-in-one does nothing but cost you money.
I know. Life is unfair in so many different ways.
Oh, speaking of golf, how about the match yesterday? Mickelson, DeChambeau, Brady, and Rogers. I have not gotten to see it through. I fell asleep, but sounds like it was fun.
Yeah, it was. I'll tell you what, Mickelson is great. He just talks nonstop. Aaron Rodgers was terrific. He's so subversive with his humor. I love it. I find those things really compelling. I mean, I like watching regular people or regular athletes try and play golf. And I'll tell you what, those guys, Brady and Rogers, are pretty good, but they also hit those god-awful shots that you and me hit.
And that's what you love to see.
Just about 150 yards longer.
Yeah. Yeah, it's great to see that. But that's why it's great to watch the U.S. Open and see them challenge so much and see them hit those, trying to see a DeChambeau hit out of the rough and it goes this way or whatever. I'm like, I did that yesterday.
I'll tell you what, I've lived in many parts of the country, including Colorado. I need to go to Montana, man. I need to go to Montana.
Everyone needs to visit.
And I need to play that golf course. Now, I'd be playing from the tees way up.
Ladies' tees?
Huh?
Play for the ladies' tees?
I did not say that, but it might become necessary at some point. But yeah, it just looks so beautiful.
When I was a TV sports anchor, my last job was in Washington State on the east side.
Uh-huh.
And the reason I mention that is because there's a mountain range that runs through the middle of Washington, and you think of Seattle and how rainy and wet it is, and it is. Well, all that moisture falls out on that side of the mountains. When you get to the other side of the mountains, it's dry as a bone. And I remember being out there for the first time and playing golf and having what was like a 12-foot putt that was like putting on an airport tarmac. It just took off, and I'm like, what the hell? I had never played in the conditions with zero humidity. And the difference,
high altitude. They were playing at 11,000 feet yesterday, and you could hear as they walked how they were trying to catch their breath. I'm telling you, I lived at 5,280 feet, for 10 years. And then when I go up to Breckenridge or someplace like that at 10,000 feet, now granted I'm in terrible shape, but man, you're just sucking wind. I remember the first time I tried to play hockey out in Colorado, I thought my heart was going to explode.
Yeah, I take carts for that reason.
Well, you can't play hockey, so.
Yeah, I know that. But yeah, it's the difference is it's amazing, but it'd be fun to do that. But yeah, that thing is becoming. I think they're doing it the right way, that little golf thing. It keeps it interesting enough if you get the right people. I'd love to see, well, I know you can't have the same ones, but Peyton should be a guest all the time.
Yeah, no doubt.
He needs to be on the course.
Doing something.
Messing with those guys with a microphone.
Yeah.
Because he's just natural. He's a natural stickler. I mean, him and Rogers together would be probably a pretty damn good comedy team.
I think they'd be very good. You know what struck me yesterday, Jim? And it's one of the million things that have changed in the 39, 40 years I've been doing this. But when I started out, gambling and gambling sites and all that stuff, that was verboten. That was, you didn't even talk about gambling. Everybody knew what was going on, but
Pete Rose.
DraftKings is a sponsor. You got guys talking about betting who's going to, make the longest putt. It's in your face. And I'm like, wow, things have changed a lot since I started in this business 100 years ago.
Phil Mickelson. We look at the guy we're talking about. What his story 1 week ago was not about this. It was about the $500,000 he got screwed out of by a mobster that apparently resurfaced.
Yeah, that was a weird story. I'm not sure I see the purpose. 99% of the time I will support, the things that my media brethren do, but I'm not sure I see the point in a story that goes back to 2007 when he got ripped off by some sleazebag. I don't get that. I'm not sure what the purpose is. I'm sure he's lost a lot of money on a lot of golf courses.
And I was, because those guys all gamble, but that's like me losing $20.
Right.
They've got, it sounds weird to us because it's waste, and maybe it is. But it's their waste, man. They get to do it. No one's questioning everyone else about what they do. So
no.
I wish I could do it.
Try not to play with mobsters. That's kind of my rule. Don't
like my
play golf
kneecaps.
with mobsters.
I like my kneecaps.
Yeah, exactly.
What's new with Bob? What's coming up? I know you been writing on a lot on Carlisle. That's been the big story.
Well, more on Carlisle. Myself and John Krasinski. My
from The Office.
Huh?
From The Office?
No. But what's funny? John, who's a writer, always gets tweets from people who think he's John Krasinski from The Office.
That's awesome.
He answers as if he is.
That is awesome.
Yeah. We're doing a story together about kind of the life and times of Rick Carlisle and his various times in Indiana, both as an assistant and as a head coach, and now as a head coach for the, coming back here for a third time. And so I talked with Steven Jackson, Meta Standiford Artest, or whatever he's going by now. We talked with a lot of people about the season in 2004, 2005, when it looked like they were going to win a championship, and then the brawl broke out and it screwed up everything. And it's going to be an interesting story. It'll be next week. I'm trying to sit down with Dane Fife to do something, but I'm going on vacation next week, so I'm not sweating it.
John, got to remember that and then remind me so I panic next week. But, oh, well, man, what was I going to say? Daggone it. Recruiting, it continues for Indiana over the summer now. I know you don't follow that, but that's kind of getting into a quiet period. Mike Woodson and staff, they've come in, done a great job. They have settled. They've seemed to settle down Hoosier Nation. I guess they've settled it down. They've given it a let's pause and given them for the first time in maybe 4 years or longer. They can just sit back and take a breath and just relax for a minute and not panic, not just chill and relax. And I think that's the feeling right now.
Well, I'm looking forward to this basketball season. I think they had enough talent to be an NCAA tournament team last year. They weren't. I don't think they were well coached. I don't think they were directed in the right way. But I'm really curious to see, if Trace can grow his game, if they can get the best out of Rob Finney, things like that. I think it's going to be a fascinating year. See what Mike and his staff does the first year. That said, and I know this is, an Indiana show, you got the Indiana banner behind you, but it ain't beating Purdue. I'm just telling you, Purdue is loaded. They are stacked, and they're going to be good for as long as Jaden Ivey and those guys decide to stick around West Lafayette.
Well, that's going to be interesting to see how good Purdue actually is. They're definitely deep. So it's with the rivalry. I think the rivalry adds. It wasn't there. There was no rivalry for the last several. Remember, it was just
9 in a row.
Yes,
9 in a row. That's absurd.
And there was no rivalry because it meant nothing to the last staff. Which, if it means nothing to you, then that's conveyed down. There's no emotion, and it has to mean something. So. Yeah. What about potentially? Can you imagine seeing Kofi Coburn at Kentucky?
Oh my God, that's not fair.
I mean, it just sucks. It really just sucks if this is what's going to if this is what the portal is going to turn out to be. It's like it's not fun. It's not fun. I mean, if you're gonna,
the whole game has changed. With the portal and now with NIL. I just read a story this morning that health club, workout place, is working out a deal with the University of Miami so that every kid on the roster will get $500. Was it $500 a month?
Yep, $500 a month.
Good for them. But I think it's going to create a lot of issues. I just do. What I like is that it's not going to just be the quarterback. It's not going to just be the star wide receiver or running back or linebacker. In that particular case, everybody is going to come out with a couple of bucks. So
that's a good thing.
That's a great thing. That's a great thing. I think where the problems could be, and I remember talking to Ryan Kelly of the Colts about this last year or 2 years ago, whenever we last were able to talk to him. So 2 years ago, and he was saying, I said, I would bet you that it's going to create a lot of internal discord. Because you're going to have some guys making, some serious coin and other guys making nothing. And I'm not saying that that's a reason not to do it. Believe me, I'm all in favor of NIL. I just think there's going to be a lot of issues, side issues that come out, with NIL and with players getting cash because money money screws up everything. It messes up a lot of relationships.
Well, you're welcome to stick around because Jeremy Gray is going to join us next from Indiana to talk about that very thing.
Well, I'll stay on for Jeremy.
Yeah, that's I texted Jeremy. I said, Jeremy, who would I talk to about that? He goes, well, I guess me. He said, I guess me. So I said, all right, man. He's the guy. So let's take a quick break and we'll get Jeremy on and we'll talk some NIL for Indiana right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Whether you're looking for...
Oh, beautiful. Did you send it out to Jeremy, John?
Yes, sir. I confirmed with him a few minutes ago. He should be on shortly.
Perfect. Man. There he is.
How's it going?
Look at that view. Room with a view.
Hey,
Bob. Bob's on with us. He was just on the last segment, and I told him you were coming on. He said he'd stick around for a few minutes. So Bob Kravitz
he's ready to grill me.
I'm going to grill my lawnsman.
How was vacation?
It was good. It's one of those. So it was kind of a furlough vacation. So we all took furloughs here.
Oh, yeah.
Because of the economic issues, facing all of us, I guess. But it was November of last year, and I said, when this is all kind of over, I need to take my furlough week, and we need to get somewhere far, far away. I'm tired of looking at soybeans in a mid-sized American city and in a college town. I'm tired of looking at it. So let's go way out west. And I picked NIL week as the co-chair of our name, image, and likeness task force. So
where did you go? I was curious because we were just Bob was just lamenting the fact that he has never been to Montana. And
I went to Yellowstone for like 4 days, then Big Sky, and then my wife made sure we went to Jackson Hole.
We were just talking about those very places.
Yeah. She's like, if I'm going to go, hike and look at elk, you're taking me to Jackson Hole. So it's a Jackson Hole.
There you go, Bob. He just laid it out for you.
Oh, Jeremy, I was telling Jim, my daughter and her husband are moving to Seattle, Tacoma, next week after we get back from vacation. So we're gonna go out there, visit a couple of days, and get in a car and just drive the west.
Yeah, it was great to be out there. It really was.
Yeah,
you spent a lot of time in Colorado, right?
I did 10 years. It's God's country.
I get why people move out there.
My last TV sports anchor job was in Washington.
Okay.
The east side of Washington, the dry side.
Pullman.
Not too far. I was in the Tri-Cities.
All right, I got to bring us back in, y'all.
All right.
New 2020 Honda Civic LX front-wheel drive lease for just $180 a month. Or a new 2021 Honda Accord LX front-wheel drive lease for just $270 a month. Andy Moore Honda Bloomington, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer.
Come see us at the all-new Andy Moore Honda, now in Bloomington.
Today's guest is brought to you by Reynolds Family Dentistry of Sellersburg. You need $1 million smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you'll get with Reynolds Family Dentistry.
Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Here's Jim Coyle.
Welcome back on this midpoint of the week. Thanks a lot for joining us. Bob Kravitz still with us, and joined now by Jeremy Gray. Thank you, Jeremy. He's got the longest title, and it changes sometimes. So, what, for brevity's sake, what would you say your title is, Jeremy?
Senior Associate Athletic Director in charge of the non-athletic parts of the athletic department.
See, I couldn't have been that quick. That's even better yet. He is just in charge of all communication.
I got a little story about that. So Adidas, for like senior staff members and coaches, gives a card to you that allows you a certain amount of merchandise a year. And we went to an Adidas store in New York City, and we pulled out the card, said, we've got this. Let's, like some shoes or whatever. And the manager came out and goes, "Are you a professional athlete?" And he had that look on his face. And I'm like, "No, why?" And they're like, that's like what people with this card are. And I'm like, "Are you saying I don't look like a professional athlete?"
Maybe in curling,
senior tour golf, maybe. I don't know.
Equestrian. I could see you on top of a horse.
Apparently, I don't look like Patrick Mahomes and Fernando Tatis.
That is a little shocking to me.
We all have that problem, man. And too late. We're not all eligible for name, image, likeness awards either. But one of the things that I want to talk about today, in addition to just having some fun, but name, image, likeness is something that has quickly come into all of our lives because it's here. Several states implemented the legislation that really pushed the NCAA to have to catch up or really have schools fall behind. And like the Big Ten, you've got how many different states? 12 different states? I can't keep up. 12 different states that would have to have legislation, all that would have to be the same. So there's just so many issues. Now they've left it up to the schools. Indiana seems to be one of the schools that was kind of ready for it and ahead of the game. They had the relationship with Open Doors and recently another one. So they seem to be ahead of the game for this, especially for a state that was behind the game.
Yeah, and all that credit really goes to Scott Dolson. When he was interviewing for the job, he put together his packet of why he should be the AD to present to the committee. And one of the core things that he had in there was to be the name, image, and likeness school, to be ahead of the game on this. And very quickly after becoming the athletic director, he did some things large and small to position us to be ready for this, or at least as ready as possible. And one was we were the first school in the country to start a task force, a working group, and we started working with the Kelley School of Business, social media experts in the media school, as well as kind of our primary recruiters of assistant coaches and some key student athletes to create a task force to start studying these issues and getting prepared in a variety of areas: business education, personal brand building and platform building, all of that. So we started doing that. In the first month of July, we signed the deal with Open Doors. We were the second school in the country to do that. The first was Nebraska, and the only reason they were the first is that the founder played football in Nebraska. So we were on kind of the vanguard of that. And then, and I was telling you in the break that, we've had furloughs and some staff layoffs and all of that kind of stuff, but he made sure that key areas related to name, image, and likeness would be hampered kind of on the low end compared to the rest of the department with our financial, situation, so that we could be prepared for this. So you've probably seen it really starting with the football season, carrying over to now the Mike Woodson era of the basketball season or basketball tenure, that we've invested a lot in video, graphic design, social media content. All of that is part and parcel with our efforts in name, image, and likeness. But to say we were totally prepared would be an exaggeration, as the 2 weeks leading into July 1st, 2021 definitely felt like finals week.
Yeah. Let me ask you, Jeremy, what do you like about the NIL approach now, and what are some of maybe the unintended consequences that concern you?
So what I like about it is I've always found it strange and really difficult to defend intellectually, the idea that someone wouldn't own their name, image, and likeness, that Natalie Portman can study drama at Harvard and star in a movie, but Kyle Schwarber, when he was playing here, couldn't give hitting lessons and say that he's Kyle Schwarber, IU baseball player. I always found that untenable and unfair. So the fairness of it is something that, I find very appealing. Also, the whole point of college is to prepare people for adulthood and a professional life. And it's preventing them from making money. My 14-year-old daughter has a lawn mowing business, but preventing them from, in a lot of these areas, preparing themselves for a career in business by prohibiting these activities, I just thought was strange. So the fact that they can be their own entrepreneurs, and I think it coincides with the mission of college, which is to prepare people for adulthood and their professional careers. So I think all of that's great. I also think my view on this has changed, because I've always thought of kind of the Trevor Lawrence, Zion Williamson, Cody Zeller, his freshman year example of the people who make a lot of money. But then I thought about my own college experience of, at the end of the month, I was digging in the couch for, quarters, because I had spent my allotment that month. That, an extra $200 for a tennis player because they're able to give some tennis lessons.
Right.
Meaningful money for these college students. So I think all of that is great. To the second part of your question, the unintended consequences, I think the business education part is going to be a huge undertaking, and we are really committed to it here. But even in the last few days, there have been things that have popped up that we didn't really even think about. And I know that a lot of schools who have been very aggressive on the "we'll build your brand and you can make money here" are not really thinking about business education. Mm-hmm. I've been in some meetings with some teams, and for that Instagram post, they might be giving you a couple of shirts, but you're going to have to pay taxes on those shirts.
Right.
And you're going to run a camp, which is great. Do you know that the basketballs you're buying for your camp, if you save the receipts, can be a business expense that you could write off on your taxes? And you see like the eyes get wide open. Understanding kind of the business implications of this. You sign a contract. I mean, Bob, especially, you've signed a lot of contracts in your time. Understanding contract language, like you sign this and it says in perpetuity.
Right. You're
stuck in a bad deal, and all of a sudden you're now the shortstop of the New York Yankees, and you're still with this okey doke deal that you got in college. You really need to think about those things. So I think that those are some of the unintended consequences. And then, of course, there's always going to be new ways to skirt the rules and cheat. And, that clearly has, some of our coaches concerned about what might be happening at some other places.
Yeah, because now you have to ask, what is cheating now? Because we don't know that. But getting back to I didn't want to go away from it could be two-pronged, the taxes and all that. They have to keep up with that. Or are they going to have to get now a manager, a CPA, business people? The positive side is maybe this changes a lot of mindsets for kids that are not going to be professional players to more of a business mindset right from jump, because now they are a business. But it's the other things that I'm more concerned about, with having to keep up with the taxes and having to get a CPA and now a manager and someone who can say, well, you can spend this amount of this month, or you got to keep up with that. You brought up some of those, because there are going to be many, and there's going to be many people that come to them from different ways. How are they going to be protected, I guess, from someone that's looking to try to take advantage of them?
Yeah, and we've seen that there's been a bit of a sugar high in the first couple of days after this, where people want to be part of this viral moment, and so they've signed a bunch of athletes quickly, and now we're actually going to get into what the real NIL is, and making sure they understand what they're getting themselves into. I think is really important. So one of the we're doing a series of things. The Kelly School of Business is going to do a series of business education seminars and classwork for them, so that they understand these things. We are going to advise them to find advisors, right, and giving them the questions to ask those advisors. Things like, oh, you're an agent. Who do you represent? Am I your first client? So that they know what questions to ask even as they get into those processes. And then, working with units on campus too, to help them with tax preparation and things like that, and to advise them to find certified public accountants. So that finding a good team, we're kind of telling them, find your board of directors. You're now a business. Find a good board of directors. And if your relative is qualified, that's great. But don't just make it your 3 best friends from high school. Like, find people who know what they're doing on this, and it will save you a lot of heartache in the long run.
What's the difference now between signing with an agent and someone that's in this other category? Because having an agent, quote unquote agent, is not allowed, but now it's a representative of sorts, I guess. So
they are technically allowed to have agents, but they can only negotiate on their behalf for things name, image, and likeness, not for competitive compensation. I actually welcome that, in that the more professional their expertise, the better off they're gonna be. It's when their friend in the dorms is their negotiator that things can go awry. So finding pros to help them, I think, is a good thing. Now, we can't connect them with agents, so they've got to go find that on their own. But at least being prepared with the tools of what questions to ask prospective agents, is interesting. And I also think we need to get out of the mindset necessarily that it's going to be a football and basketball thing. Many of the most marketable student athletes that we have are
Lily
women.
King.
Yes, Olympic sport athletes. And I think, just like everything else, social media is a skill. Magic Johnson was a lot better than Rex Chapman as a basketball player, but Rex Chapman is a far more vital social media follow than is Magic Johnson, and therefore would, at this point, make potentially more money on name, image, and likeness than the greatest point guard of all time. Right. So you're going to find maybe the 6th best player on our basketball team is going to make the most off NIL because he is really good on social media, where our best player, might not be. I'm not saying Trace is not good on social media. I think he is, but you get my point. It's going to shoot off in different, maybe unexpected directions.
What are some of the things, Jeremy, that they cannot do? And I ask this because late last night I was going through the internet and saw that a bunch of players had signed up with Barstool, which, while I think they are reprehensible weasels, generally speaking, and David Portnoy in particular, they have a sports book, and I wonder how that works with the NIL.
Yeah, so IU is every school's got their policy on this. IU has fewer protected categories than most, okay. So we're going to be less restrictive than most. However, like if it was directly for a sports book, directly for an alcohol product, that would be prohibited. Okay. But they could potentially, and I'm not setting them up with a deal, they could do something for Knicks, but they can't do something for Jack Daniels, if that makes sense.
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
So that's kind of where the dividing line is. I do think it's important that we get the athletes to consider you're going to live potentially until you're 90 years old. And how the deals that you sign will matter for other things you do in your life. Right. So, unless you're Victor Oladipo, Jordan Howard, Kyle Schwarber, or Lily King, you're going to have to probably get a real job. And you need to think about who you align yourself with.
Okay. Yeah.
Is Indiana working with any particular companies for any type of en masse deal? Bob mentioned earlier, I think it was Miami. A guy wanted to bring back the U, which I'm not suggesting that, but where everyone is getting $500 a month. I think it's on the football team for them. And then it was Nebraska. I can't remember the restaurant chain, Runga or whatever that whatever that is. Yeah, a mass type of thing there. Is that something that a school would work on to try to entice? I know Indiana doesn't need to do that, but I can see some schools doing that as an enticement.
If the schools worked on that, that would still be against the rules.
Okay.
So if it was a business that independently came to that decision, then they can do what they want. But as institutions, we're not allowed to work on something like that. What I would caution people, because we've gotten the sticker shock and coaches have called us wanting to know how are they able to do this. As you get into the fine print of those deals, it's much less life-changing money in terms than originally described.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you would have to think, because there's no way when you talk about an entire football team. I mean, there's 85 scholarship, but really it's 125 kids on that team. That's a lot of money. Monthly? That's how long could a company fork that out? You're going to have to be recouping a lot to keep doing that. So I couldn't imagine that stuff lives on forever. Like you said, the ones that have done it first, they've gotten the attention, and I think that'll die down quickly. But I guess the regulation, we don't know what cheating is now. Where will that line be? And because we don't even know what the rules are yet. People like me, we're still learning what the rules are, what schools can do, what they can't do. But when will the rules be determined, I guess, and the line be set?
So right now the line is it cannot be an inducement to come to your school. You cannot set up an inducement to come to your school or to stay at your school, especially as kids are in the transfer portals. Like, well, we'll give you $100,000 to stay. You can't do that. And then that's really kind of it right now. So I don't know if that's a lot of gray area or no gray area at all, that it's actually pretty simple. But, that's kind of the thing that we're operating by. Now, the question is enforcement. And, that would still be the purview of the NCAA. And I'll leave it to you to determine how well they're doing in enforcing it. So,
I was going to say, he has to start doing a segment on the show, and we'll call it the gray area.
Yes. Yeah. The gray. There you go.
Boom.
What stops, Jeremy? I'm sorry. What stops a booster from throwing a ton of money at a kid? Throwing them $100,000 for doing autograph signings, which is clearly an inducement. It's not an inducement that's being that school related, but you've got these boosters who will do anything to get player X to come or to stay at the school. What stops a booster from doing that sort of thing, or is there anything that stops them?
Right now, there wouldn't be anything to stop them from doing it. So the institution can't orchestrate it. The thing with booster, that's a tough thing. There's 600,000 living alumni of Indiana alone. A certain percentage of them are going to own businesses where they would be able to do something like this.
Right.
So, at this point, that's pretty loosely defined. The one thing they keep talking about is a service has to be provided, and an appearance. You mentioned autographs, a commercial, a social media post, something in that vein. And there's discussion about fair market value, but that becomes this fungible thing. Like, what is fair market value? Like,
right.
I wouldn't spend $100,000 on a stamp, but some people do.
Because they can.
Yeah. So, I think you're going to find people finding creative ways to follow the rules, but maybe violate the spirit of the rule.
That's a problem.
Yeah.
And then now the schools are the police, which that's kind of the way it is now in of sorts, but there's a lot of schools that don't exactly police themselves very well, that are in trouble right now. So this one makes it even more difficult, because these are going to be relationships possibly with supporters of the school.
Yeah, I would say though, all houses are kind of built on a slippery slope, and I'm not a big believer in the slippery slope argument. Schools were already cheating. Large schools already had massive inherent advantages over smaller schools. And I would say in relative terms, the cheating will be the same, but just different, in the way that it's applied, and that the advantages that large schools have are just still going to be there.
Can't disagree with that.
Interesting.
Like Indiana already had nicer facilities, a bigger weight room, more staff, higher paid staff, better travel accommodations than teams from the Missouri Valley Conference. That already existed.
Yeah, I mean, the haves and the have-nots it's not going to change anything. It's not like Bowling Green is suddenly going to get great, or Nebraska, or Duke or whatever is suddenly not going to do well. I mean, those advantages are already in place. It may make those advantages greater, the haves and the have-nots, but let's not act like this was some egalitarian, some democracy all along.
For sure. And, there's I would hearken back to history, and I'm going to root like crazy for Simone Biles in a month. And I rooted like crazy for Mary Lou Retton in 1984. Yeah. Mary Lou Retton didn't have name, image, likeness rights, and Simone Biles does. And it does not change my experience for rooting for Team USA.
Right.
And doomsday was predicted in free agency in baseball. And while it hasn't been perfect, the Yankees won before free agency, and the Yankees have won after free agency. And the owners make more money in baseball now than they did before free agency. So a lot of these things that are massive changes in the sport that people have worried are going to ruin the sport, we've tended to find a way to still enjoy them as much as we did before. That's my optimistic tone, guys. How did I do?
Sounded awesome.
Good. I'm buying. I mean, I have always felt, going back to the O'Bannon suit, that NIL was coming and it needed to come. And it made no sense to me that, as a lowly reporter at the IDS, I was allowed to write some things for the New York Times and the Washington Post and get paid a couple of bucks. But, I had roommates who were swimmers and wrestlers, and they couldn't do anything.
Yeah.
They couldn't do anything except, train, compete, and go to class. That was about it. They couldn't take advantage of their situation.
Yeah, it's certain sports that are a factor. I mean, I know that rodeo is not a sport that's familiar with this area, but in a lot of schools further out west, not only do they compete for money. They compete for actual prize money, just like the pros do, and they compete at the pro level at the same time. You can do that. So it's the sports. The major sports are the ones that have, I guess, have been the ones that have gotten the attention, so to speak. But Jeremy, you pointed out many of the Olympic sports are the ones that are going to produce some of the all-time elite athletes. Yeah, I mean, I think it's a shame that Katie Ledecky had to quit swimming at Stanford her junior and senior year.
I know.
Yeah, and Lily King was faced with the same choice. She made a different decision. She decided to stay and compete. But it cost Lily King hundreds of thousands of dollars. And an NCAA swim meet with Lily King and Katie Ledecky is a hell of an event.
Yeah. Well, we got to find a way to get money for the Indiana University Hockey Club players. What can you set up for my boys?
I've actually got some skin in this game, too. My daughter is a fairly competitive figure skater.
Okay.
And there's a figure skating hockey alliance of getting a new rink. And my daughter believes that I have an in to adding hockey as a varsity sport. Therefore, we'd have to build a rink at IU, and therefore she would have a better place to skate. And I said, I've seen some crazy sports parents before, but I don't know if anybody's ever pulled off a coup quite like that. But I'm actually a former college hockey announcer in the CCHA, so I'm all for it.
Well, I go back, Jeremy, not to bore everybody to death, but when I played at IU, the Frank Southern Center, or whatever the hell it's called.
It's still there.
Well, one side of it was open air. One side was open air.
My daughter doesn't know how lucky she has.
I had to come out of a game against Purdue because I was getting no action in net, and I was getting frostbite on my fingers.
And a sunburn and a suntan on the back.
No, Purdue sucked. They never scored on me.
Back when men were men.
How many Big Ten teams have hockey teams?
Actually, Minnesota, Michigan, Michigan State, Wisconsin, Penn State added it. Ohio State, and then Notre Dame is a member in the hockey conference.
Right.
So I can see it coming in the future. What's next up, Jeremy, for IU? What should fans be looking forward to? I know 100% capacity in football, a gigantic thing to look forward to, especially with this upcoming season. To me, this has got to be the most anticipated football season in program history. I know that's going back to the 60s, but they didn't have social media then. You didn't have the anticipation. You didn't have the years of loss that's before that was so bad. Now this is just, people are really looking forward to it. I know filling that stadium is important, but allowing them in there's so many new things. You've got alcohol sales there. So there's just no reason for people not to come out.
Yeah, no, everybody's really excited about football season this year. And I know I'm paid to say this. So take it with, several spoonfuls of salt, I guess. But we've had a couple of years here and there where we would make a bowl game and there's some optimism. But if you look back at those teams, and not that they weren't good collective team efforts, but there was a dynamic player and two other good role players that kind of carried us across the finish line there. This feels built for sustained success in a way that I haven't experienced in my time at Indiana, where there's depth at various position groups, the recruiting classes stratified equally, where there's this many good freshmen, this many good sophomores, this many good juniors. We've got skill position players. The guys look bigger, and you're coming off 8-4, 6-2, or 6-1 regular season. And most of the principal participants on that team are back, and there's a ton of coaching staff continuity, and there just feels like a ton of momentum in the program, and the recruiting's off the charts. So there is no reason Indiana can't have a purple patch of sustained success now, I think, in a way that it has not experienced since the late 1980s. And it's really, really exciting. There's another component to it, too, that feels different. One, Antoine Randall was famous, but we never really had famous defensive backs in town. And people know who Tywan Mullen is. People know who Marcelino Ball is, at least here in town. And I think people have connected with the program in a real way, in a personal way, like a true fandom type of way, that I think is exciting. And Tom Allen is now a major public figure. People want to buy leather jackets to look like Tom Allen. So there's a lot of buzz surrounding IU football, and it's dovetailing nicely with at least all of the off-court success that Mike Woodson's had early in his tenure. So it feels like a good time to be a Hoosier.
Yeah, I know that this is probably not a question you could really want to answer for when his next contract rolls around, but how much in free ad revenue is Tom Allen worth to IU?
Yeah, I don't know the question to get started. But when you have a coach that's on College Game Day, and
for the reasons he's on there too,
Good Morning America, you can't buy that, and it's great publicity. And one of the things, and I don't know if this will inform a future Bob Kravitz column or not, but one of the things that I've started to notice being here, Indiana coaches that succeed here have to really kind of love the place and want to be here. It can't just be a good paying Big Ten job for them.
Right.
And you look at Terry Morin from Seymour, Indiana. Mike Woodson played here. We'll see how that goes, but I'm optimistic. Tom Allen's first game was a bucket game when he was a child and grew up in and around the state. Tracy Smith, who turned around baseball, was an assistant coach here and grew up in Kentland, Indiana. Doesn't mean you have to be from Indiana, but this is a place you have to love in order to succeed at, I think. And, it feels like we've got coaches who really want to be here. Doesn't mean they will never leave for something better, but or what they would perceive to be better. But you've got people who love Bloomington, love the state of Indiana, and love coaching at IU.
Yeah, and they understand that there is a uniqueness.
There
to
is.
this place.
There is. And instead of trying to work against it, they actually find it endearing.
Exactly.
Yes.
We talked about IU football, great anticipation leading up to the season. Men's basketball, a lot of anticipation there. Women's basketball, of course, anticipation with that. Baseball, swimming and diving, men's and women's soccer programs, all of these programs ranked. Has there ever been a time in IU, I cannot recall ever, that these major sports were all at a major level? I mean, these are all top 25 programs, and there's probably others that I've left off.
What I do think that you're seeing flowers growing in the garden everywhere, which is great. And it's exciting. We've got a nice blend of dominant programs, emerging programs, and programs that have long been dormant or never had success showing signs of life. So it's kind of exciting on all fronts. I will play grandpa here for a second. And if you would have gone to a head coaches meeting at IU in 1975, the greatest swimming coach of all time, the greatest diving coach of all time, one of the 5 best basketball coaches of all time, the winningest track coach in Big Ten history, the winningest women's tennis coach of all time, all were in the same head coaches meeting. So I don't want to make the people from the 70s mad. But I do feel like across the board, this might be the best time since then. And, some of it's lucky hires, to be honest, because you never really know. Some of it was, facility investment and, kind of getting into the arms race after taking 20 years off with Fred, doing a great job with that. And I think if I can kind of stick up for the support staff here, you got a lot of people who work here, work really hard and, care about supporting our athletes too. So.
As somebody who went to school there in the 70s, I agree with you, Jeremy. Sam Bell, Hobie, Doc, Bob Knight. My God, what a list of
Jerry
Yeagley, of course.
They were all pretty good.
They're all
not bad. Not too bad. Not too bad. Jeremy Gray, I cannot thank you enough, man. It's been a blast. I'd love to do this again. Look forward to it, but looking forward to the upcoming seasons this fall as everything gets underway. And but I don't want to put the summer away yet. Get there just yet. I want to have a little bit more. But thank you. What can football fans need to get their tickets? I guess
they do, and ticket sales are up in every category except for students. And really excited about the crowds that we're going to have. And I don't want people, I especially don't want the grandpas upset at the students. It's not their fault. They weren't here all year.
Right.
All the ads that we've played, click it for ticket. They didn't get to see any of that. Orientation's not in person, and that's a big place where we sign students up. So if you can help spread the word, I mean, not that's not Bob's job, but you can spread the word to students that we're going to have a great football season. It'll be a lot of fun to be there in person. That's the category that we're working to fill. The rest are looking great, and excited to see everybody at Memorial Stadium this fall.
Yeah, record freshman class, I think, enrolling, so that should help once they get turned around. But Jeremy, thank you so much, man. I really, really appreciate you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Jeremy Gray, joining us here on Indiana Sports Beat, and Bob Kravitz, brother. Thank you for sticking around as well. That was fun. Great talking to Jeremy and getting all that info. And I hope you have a great rest of your day as well. What do you have coming up next?
Golf.
Look at it. Some of Jeremy's in his office slaving away, working. As soon as he shuts it down, he can leave though. But I can't thank you guys enough. Everybody else, John, thank you. Where are you playing today?
Prairie View.
Yeah, don't go too far. Don't ramble too far.
I won't. All right, buddy.
Thank you, sir. We'll see you again soon. Bob Kravitz joining us here on Indiana Sports Beat. I can't thank everybody enough. Most importantly, you guys. Without you all, there's nothing to do. It's been a great, great show today, man. That was fun. Going back to thank Jeremy, of course, Bob Kravitz, Cal Neddenriep, and, of course, John, the producer. John, did I forget anybody?
No, sir.
Good deal. All right, we're back tomorrow with another one. Load that up. Dustin Schutte, Chris Denari, Matt Taylor. Today's Wednesday. So
we will not have Chris Denari tomorrow. Chris Denari.
We will not have Chris Denari tomorrow. Do we have? We don't even know. I don't even know who we got replaced him. We've got so much going on. These shows are filling up, man. These have been fun. But it'll be another one. Go out and have yourselves a great day and do something nice for somebody. Until tomorrow, I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.